You are a man who believes in the Constitution.
Yep.
And you've sworn to defend it, and you actively do, through legislation, through public speaking, through every possible means that you've done. We've been doing a series on the threats to the Constitution, the economic war. So there's an economic war on free speech, and it's cronyism. Socialists are cronies. Sure. A lot of times I'll hear people say, well, we've never really tried pure socialism. And I point to Venezuela and they say, well, they never really tried pure socialism. My response is, we've never really tried pure free markets either. No, and partial free markets are better than partial socialism.
That's right.
By every measure possible.
That's right.
But we also see a war, and we're doing a series coming up on the economic war on the Second Amendment, to where there, for example, the
Exactly.
banking regulations, and so banks were...
Where under Obama they wouldn't loan money to,
or even let them have accounts.
Yeah.
They were using the FDIC, and they were preventing gun manufacturers and gun sellers from even having a bank account. So they're running, or the federal agencies were buying up all the ammunition and the prices were skyrocketing. So that's an economic war.
Sure.
I think our enemies have decided that they're going to use our system against us.
And that's what they've been doing for years.
And what do we do about that?
Well, they've been using all kinds of things, including, this birthright tourism, where people come in, have babies, and then take their American citizen home with them. And many of them get benefits, from our country. That's an economic warfare. A lot of people are not aware, but Osama bin Laden had an amazing treatise he did on the economic damage that 9/11 had on America, that maybe it cost them $500,000 or so, and they've cost us trillions, that if they can have other terrorist acts that will have that kind of widespread fear and terror, they can bring us down economically.
Trillions in direct financial costs.
Yes.
But much, much worse in the loss of civil liberties.
Yes, absolutely. And people have just gotten used to it. Like the frog in warm water getting hotter. It's gotten hotter and hotter, and people, don't seem to object to having people grope them and feel up one side, down the other. It's really outrageous what we've allowed to become so invasive.
And it's normalized.
Yeah.
And so kids don't know any difference. President Reagan was famous as saying that freedom doesn't pass in the bloodstream. If we don't do something to address it in our sunset years, we'll be telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America to be free.
And that scares me more than anything else. I'm not afraid for my life. I know where I go as a Christian when I'm gone, but I am scared for my children. We have folks coming up, young adults now. In fact, I was hearing an analysis of Ted Cruz's voting for Senate. Most of it in Texas have been saying, conservatives have been saying for years, we got all these people moving in from California and New York, and they're making our state more and more liberal. Well, it turns out a lot of those people were fleeing socialism in California, New York, Illinois. Ted won a majority of those folks that had moved into Texas. Yeah, I was surprised. He won a majority of those. Where he lost the biggest was in homegrown Texans educated in our schools that are 30 or below. That's where he really lost big. They have been miseducated rather, to think socialism is a good idea. And also, we vote for the guy that we think is friendlier. We don't care about the policies so much. So this is a dangerous time for America. And of course, the NRCC didn't help. As I understand it, last year, about 40% or so of the money they raised for the National Republican Congressional Committee came from Texas, and they didn't help Texas like that. And they don't realize if and when we lose Texas,
that's gone.
Yeah, we won't have another conservative. We just go toward full-blown Socialism, we know socialism always fails. The only way free market system fails is when it becomes socialist.
Sure.